In this video, we're adding two fractions together. Now, we do have a few steps to take in order to add the fractions. But before we even get to adding the fractions together, we have something we have to take care of. Okay? Order of operations tells us that when we're dealing with a math equation, we need to look at the parentheses or the brackets first. Okay, so we have a set of brackets here. Okay, so we need to get rid of that bracket. There's no operation inside these brackets. We just have a fraction. However, we need to get rid of those brackets before we can solve our problem. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to recopy our first term here, 4/9. We're not dealing with that right now. However, we are dealing with this bracket. So we have a -7/8. So what we need to do to remove these brackets, we need to multiply this, what's inside our bracket, by what's outside our bracket, okay? Any number that might be right here beside our bracket, we don't have a number there, but we do have a sign, okay? So we need to multiply the number and any sign that's directly in front of the bracket. So no number, just a sign. So we have a plus sign, which is a positive, multiplied by a negative. So whenever we have two signs that are different, so a positive and negative or negative and positive, our answer will always be negative, okay? So because of that, we have a positive times a negative. That means we're going to end up with a negative. And the fraction otherwise stays the same, right? It's just 7/8. Okay, so now we've gotten rid of our brackets. And as you may have noticed, we went from adding two fractions together to actually now we're going to be subtracting. Okay, and that's all right. This is how math problems go sometimes, okay? All right, next, what do we need to do? Well, if we want to subtract one fraction from another, the denominators need to be the same, and they're just not here, okay? We have a 9 and we have an 8, not the same. So what we're going to do is we're going to find a common denominator. Now, the trick I'm going to show you doesn't necessarily give us the lowest common denominator, but it will give us a common denominator and it will always work, okay? And then you may need to reduce your answer further, but often with fractions, we need to reduce our answer further anyways, okay? So if you're being asked to find the lowest common denominator, this method will not necessarily always give it to you, okay? But it will give us a common denominator. That's what we need to solve this problem. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start with the first term. We're going to write it out, 4/9. Then we're going to take our denominator of our other term, which in this case is 8, and we're going to multiply both our numerator and our denominator by 8, okay? Then we're going to go ahead and work on our second term. We keep our negative here, or our minus. We're going to rewrite our 7/8. And then we're going to take our denominator of our first term, which in this case is 9, and we're going to multiply our numerator and our denominator by 9, okay? Now, we'll know we did it right if when we simplify this step, we get the same denominator for both our terms, okay? So let's see if that worked. 4 times 8 is 32. 9 times 8 is 72. Minus 7 times 9, which is 63. And 8 times 9, which is 72. And look at that. We have the same denominator. So when we want to subtract fractions, it's like when we add fractions. We need to get a common denominator, which is what we just did. It's 72. All right, so we can proceed with our subtraction. Now, we do not touch the denominator right now, okay? So we have 72 as our denominator. We just write that out, okay? Now we got to look at our numerators, and that's all we're going to do for our subtraction. We have 32 minus 63. So that's going to give us a -31. Now, in this case, we cannot reduce this answer any further. If you would like to learn how to quickly study for your GED exam online and get a new resume, then visit testprepskills.com.